Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about rules of composition in photography. There are 8 different rules of composition we're going to be covering. These are 8 of the most common ones used by photographers. The first one is called rule of thirds. You might have seen this little spiffy grid that can be placed on your phone or a digital camera or iPad. This is to help you compose interesting pictures. The idea is that when your subject matter is placed over one of these points of intersection, it makes a more interesting picture. Along that same lines, the horizon line, kind of like the rule of thirds, says that if you place the horizon line on the bottom third or the top third of your picture, it also makes a more interesting picture. So try not to place that horizon line smack dab in the middle of your image. Leading lines. Leading lines is one of my favorite. Leading lines uses repetitive lines in your environment. It can be architecture. It can be posts on a fence. It can be like this dock over here. And it really draws the viewer deep into the picture. Creates a kind of a large, open, expansive area. It takes a little bit of practice to see those repetitive lines in your environment. But once you start, you'll notice them everywhere. Next, let's talk about cropping. Cropping often is done after a picture is taken in the editing process, but get used to doing it while you're taking the photo. Cropping is when you get really up close and really notice something different, kind of like a puzzle piece opposed to the whole puzzle. Here, the photographer is really making you look at maybe the color palette or the pattern of this beautiful fur. It's not showing the whole animal, is it? It's saying, hey, look at this fur. And here, they just want you to focus in on these 2 little fellas over here. Also, point of view. Point of view is a really easy rule of composition. This means that you are changing your point of view. So many times, people just walk straight ahead and they take photographs standing up at eye level. Well, I'll tell you what, when you get down low, when you look up high, when you stand up high and really look down low, you're going to see a new perspective of things that you never noticed before. And you're going to create dynamic images, much more interesting often than just the plain standing up, walking forward. So also turn around. Notice what's behind you. As you're walking forward, your perspective behind you is changing. Don't forget that. Next is background control. Well, I tell you what, it's hard for photographers when they get started. They just love their subject matter so much that they forget everything behind them. I need to remind you that everything in that picture is important and lends to the image. This background really explains her look of wonderment, and this haze over here really adds to the feeling of relaxation. If your subject matter is standing in front of something that's not appealing, take the time to move them. Really pay attention to what is behind them. Next is our rule of framing. Framing is kind of like a mat in a frame. It kind of showcases and points out what's most important. You can use architecture, you can use other elements in your environment to help frame out that picture. Here, it's architecture that's really framed out. Kind of a cool little trick. Lastly, we're going to talk about depth. Depth, kind of like leading lines, is when you create a great expanse in your photograph. So this is really fantastic for landscapes, but also maybe when you're at a soccer game or a football game where you have those wide open fields, right? And you just really kind of want to tell a very large story in that image. Think about creating great depth in your pictures. Well, there you have it, folks. There are 8 rules of compositions that can instantly make your photographs more fun, more dynamic, and just gosh darn more beautiful. So good luck on that. If you have any questions, please let me know or email me, and I look forward to seeing what you are going to create.